Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you had a wonderful weekend and you're ready to start your week with me, Maha Maktoum and Shazad Khan. Assalamualaikum Shazad, how are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm absolutely perfect, exuberant of the fact that I'm still alive and, ready to
Wait, was there
basically.
ever any doubt that you may not be
No,
alive?
no, that's not what I'm saying. Alive to bring about a change in everybody else's life
That's
because
nice.
that's what we do over here on this platform, ladies and gentlemen. We thought, in fact, we think and we pray that everybody is great, time to rise and shine, wake and bake, get up, be focused on what you need to achieve in your life,
Absolutely. Because
just
you've
make
had a
sure.
weekend of doing, relaxing and, spending time with family, so now it's time.
Just because of the fact that the weather was so awesome in Islamabad, so I thought that, relaxing, well, not really my type of thing because it was raining and it wasn't really sunny, it was all cloudy. And talking about that, even in Quetta right now, it's 16 degrees centigrade. So people, if you think that it's still over here in Islamabad or, the surrounding places, it's hot, you can probably go migrate over there, live over there for a while. But even in Islamabad,
It
it's
is.
going to be partially cloudy today. The maximum we're going to reach is 30 degrees centigrade. And in other places in Hyderabad, places like these, it's I think 23 with clouds. And in Karachi, the clouds are still going to be there, but the temperature is going to be 33. In Abbottabad, it's 27.
It's always cold. It's always hot in Karachi. It never seems to cool down there.
In Karachi, it's not really hot, but in Karachi, because of the fact that the sea is there, so it's always windy, so you don't really feel it. The only thing you feel bad about is that, the air over there is a bit sticky, so you think
So
that,
humidity.
your face is all oily and you go to a dermatology and they tell you that it's the weather over here.
Okay.
So that's what it is. But what
Okay.
do we have for the top stories for this hour?
Okay, so we have the top. No, but before we go to the top stories, I wanted to ask you. There's a lot of things happening.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Pakistan.
yeah.
But you want to talk about that afterwards? I just remembered.
Yeah.
Okay, so the top stories are: so the second phase of the sixth housing and population census is beginning tomorrow, and 88 districts across the country will be covered during the course of
Wow.
this phase.
Did somebody come to your place to check how many members do you have at your place?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
All right. So I think moving on towards the other headline, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan to resume their first innings on 201 for 4 against West Indies at Sabina Park in Jamaica. PTV Sports is telecasting the match live. And then following that, we've got a great news. I mean, hats off to Yunus Khan Saab. And yeah, Yunus Khan became the first Pakistani player to score 10,000 test runs on Sunday, reaching the landmark shortly after tea on the third day of the first test against West Indies. The 39-year-old is just the 13th batsman in the history of the sport to break the 10,000 run barrier and the first one in Pakistan. Way to go, Yunus Khan. You made us proud. Indeed. That's what it is,
Some
ladies and
great
gentlemen.
talent within Pakistan. It's amazing.
Exactly, and whenever we talk about Yunus Khan, so Yunus Khan is not one of those players which has been glamorized over the years. Since he started his career, but he's always very modest. Since I've been with him in a few interviews as well, he's a very nice guy, down to earth. And then probably I think it's just the news channels who are telling them you won't be seeing any news on social media, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. So that's the type of guy he is. And once, somebody actually rushed out of his house as well, came outside and he got mad. He was like, why are you guys even following me to my house? Well, what's the problem? So just go back. So that's hats off. You made us proud. You've made the entire nation proud as well.
Yes.
That's what it is. So, but I think right now we need to move towards Maha for the public service message. So Maha,
absolutely.
what's your public service message today?
So the public service is because obviously it's linked to Shazad talking about the weather. It is raining and people do get a bit excited. And in Pakistan, we do like the rain.
Yeah.
So people drive a bit more erratically. There are people crossing the roads. There are people on motorbikes. So please pay attention. I know it's exciting. I know it's beautiful, but use your indicators, use your wind wipers, and please don't speed. Like you really need to slow down because it's better to get there than not get there.
And I don't think that people over here are, quite conscious about whether to check their tire pressures as well, or they don't even get their tires changed. I mean,
Safety first.
yeah,
basically.
we do not really have that concept. So we have a concept over here in Pakistan that, if a thing does not disturb you, for example, if your car is not broken, it's not just working now, that's when we're going to get a mechanic and get it fixed. But otherwise, we will be like,
yes.
okay, if it's working, it's working.
Yeah, safety first.
Yeah,
like you
that's what
said.
it is. But ladies and gentlemen, over the weekend in Islamabad, it was very happening. First of all, there was Music Mela as well, and then there was Kitab Mela, which was a national book fair, which was inaugurated by the President of Pakistan, Mr. Mamnoon Hussain. The MD Saab was there as well, of the Kitab Mela. And then, as a matter of fact, what I feel is that there are so many books, but so less time.
Exactly. And as you can see, we've got the images from the weekend on your screens right now, just to give you a little taste of what was happening.
Yeah, and just to tell you about the Kitab Mila as well, the best part of the Kitab Mila was that on Saturday, Roots Millennium did a great job. They had their annual day and they incorporated Kitab Mila with that as well. So there was like 10, 15 kids and they dressed up like authors and then they came on stage and then they were sharing their poetry as well and then their writings. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, from the previous week, we have been trying to emphasize, and not just from the previous week, since the day we started our show, we do really want to cater to such subjects because of the fact that it might not get you ratings, but it might get you some brains as well. Yeah.
Well, it should open your mind up a little bit. But so Shazad today is going to introduce our great panel of guests to discuss the importance of books, the importance of literature festivals, and how to preserve the habit of book reading, and also to, how do we also now promote our subcontinent authors and literature and revive that as well?
And ladies and gentlemen, basically what happens is that every day when we come over here, so Maya is the one who actually introduces the guests. But today I was like, I requested to her, because these people are a few of those people who are closer to my heart as well. And whenever it's about books and it's about writing, I would always recommend that, these are the people I would love to be in a conversation with. So on my right-hand side, we've got the Vice Chancellor of Allama Iqbal Open University. He's none other than Dr. Shahid Siddiqui. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Thank you very much for coming over. Good morning. Alongside Dr. Shahid Siddiqui, we've got a poet and a writer himself. He's been studying in Oxford. I mean, we have been listening to his stories in Oxford as well. He started writing there. He's none other than Mr. Shadullah Khan. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Pleasure to be here.
Same here, sir. And alongside, Irshad sir, we've got somebody who is the youngest CEO over here in Pakistan as well. He's an author of 2-3 books now. 2 more are coming their own way. But right now over here on the show, he's in capacity of a poet and a writer. He's none other than Mr. Faheem Sardar. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you, Shazad?
Allah ka shukr, alhamdulillah. All good. Thank you very much for coming over. I think.
Weird that I'm not introducing the guests today. It's like, I kind of lost. But
Right.
yes, so I'm going to start with the first question.
Sure.
So I'll start with you, sir. The importance of books and book reading, and I think you're a great person to ask this question to.
I think it's very important that we have this habit of book reading in a society, because if you look at all the religions, every religion is linked with a certain book. That shows that how important is a book for any kind of civilization and community. And if you read a book, you can go back to thousands of years and a number of experiences of some successful people. Also, to me, I think it's very important because if you read a number of books, you come to know about different insights and different perspectives, and that makes a person more understanding, more tolerant. And that is one value which is missing in our society. Okay. And I think if we want to cope with the challenges of extremism, it's very important that we should inculcate the habit of reading, especially among our children.
Okay,
amazing.
great.
Moving on to you, Irshad Saab. What is a book for you?
Well, a book is sort of a dream opening up because once you are absorbed in a book, the rest of the world is forgotten.
Yeah.
And the ideas float in from the book and catch up with you. And it's a great way of relaxation. And I think particularly today for the children, it's very important that they read books because it opens up their minds to different thoughts, different aspects of life. And books are, even for example, say a novel, if you take Charles Dickens' novel, it's not just about the story itself, but it's also the era.
Yeah.
So books introduce you to different eras of life.
Exactly, that's what it is. But other than that, since you mentioned about children as well, so I'm going to move on to mothers. Marcus Cicero, well, he's a poet as well, but other than that, he's an author himself. And he once said that, a mother without a book is a body without a soul. How would you refer to that?
A lot of pressure on the mother.
I think it's a question of how much a mother can influence a child. And if I can just add to something that you were saying, I mean, you didn't ask me, but I'm just volunteering this thing. Books, at least in my eyes, are like gateways to another world. Yeah. And as you very rightly said, an era and something, and it takes your mind there, and you can come back anytime you want. You just need to bookmark it and close it. And that's the sensationalization that's been lost over time. So anyway, coming to mothers, I mean, mothers, I think they always were, are, and will be central to humanity.
Yeah.
And if that center is disturbed, humanity is disturbed, in my
Exactly.
opinion. Because
That's what it is.
a father can do only so much, and a child is celestially linked to his mother. When we're all going to be raised up, it's not going to be the father's name; it's going to be the mother's name. If I'm speaking correctly here.
But there's one more important thing over here, and that is that, it's not just Marcus, it's our religion as well. Because if you educate a woman, that means that you're educating an entire nation as well. That's what they say. Let's move on to Kitab Mila as well. Now, what importance do you think such festivals do hold? Are they closer to your heart? Or because, there were quite a lot of speakers over here in Islamabad, people, from Islamabad, they might know that there are banners everywhere, and the speakers were of such sort and of such aura that, if they have even spoken a word on that platform, I think people will be influenced. But how do you see importance of such festivals?
I think it was a very pleasant sight. I visited this festival, NBF festival, 2 days, and it was a very pleasing sight to see people, young children and mothers and fathers, to buy books. They were carrying books and shoppers, and I think that was such an encouraging scene. And I personally think that these festivals are doing a great job. And in Islamabad, in the month of April, there were 3 literary festivals.
Yes.
Started with our own university, Allama Iqbal Open University. We organized a 2-day literature carnival. Then it was Oxford University Press Literature Festival for 3 days. And then this National Book Foundation Festival. And there were diverse activities. And for instance, in all of these festivals, we could see that there were book stalls, there were food stalls, and there were some serious discussions. But at the same time, there was a mushaira. I think that is something which is, we are trying to revive our, diminishing cultural activity, mushaira. And also in our university, we had this Bathbazi, where young children were involved, and so I personally think that it's a very encouraging sign, and not only in Islamabad, but they are in other cities as well. And these activities should be promoted. And the best part of it was that the President of Pakistan came to inaugurate. That shows that there's patronage of the state as well.
Okay, that's great.
Amazing that is. But alongside these lines, they do say if you want to be a great leader, read books. What type of books are they referring to over here? Shatab?
Well, if you want to be a great leader, you must read books. Well, it depends upon the individual himself.
Yeah.
If you look at Abraham Lincoln, most of the books that he read were on American history. So it depends upon the leader himself. Jinnah read books only on law.
Yeah.
So the leaders have their own fixations, totally linked with the professions. You don't get normally an all-rounder like Churchill, whose reading was so diverse. I mean, he just read every book on literature that you can think of. And he was the leader of a great country. So it depends upon the leader himself.
Okay, that's interesting. I feel like maybe these days the approach may have to be a bit more holistic now, maybe. No? What do you think?
I
Do you
agree.
think? Yeah.
I agree with you.
Okay. Okay, so now let me move on to you. We're just talking about the importance of reading and what books people need to be in order to be great leaders. But, with the rise of we have to ask this question, with the rise of social media, with all this technological advancement, the youth are kind of, there's electronic reading, etc., but reading, the emphasis and the importance isn't placed on it like it used to be. I remember as a child, my mother had to, they bribe us, I'm going to admit, sorry. In the beginning, they did. If you finish a book, you get this much, and if you finish, So,
Just like the tooth fairy, right?
yeah, exactly. So now, how can we, get the kids' interest in books, because they have a lot of distractions. I'll start with you.
Okay, my third book, which I had the privilege of reading yesterday at the book Mela, actually talks about this. So, look, we have to understand something that has happened for the first time in human history, and this needs to be very carefully analyzed. And this is my opinion, and I'd be happy if somebody disagrees with me. The human mind is basically constantly reacting to messages. What is a book? A book is a collection of, let's just say very crudely, messages. Those messages used to come into our minds, of our forefathers' minds. They used to stimulate the mind. So let's focus on mind stimulation. The problem is this social media, these tablets and phones, they have their uses, but they're constantly stimulating the mind. So when the mind is already stimulated from other visuals, sounds, videos, and words, it does not go for the stimulation from the book. Because let's just go back 150 years. What kind of images would you see 150 years, 300 years ago? Now you see images everywhere of humans, animals, cats, whatever. So your mind is constantly stimulated. Right now the challenge, and now trying to answer your question, the challenge is for us to not to firstly get the kids to start reading. No. The challenge is for the elders to understand what's going on.
Okay.
The attention, how has it been distracted? Why has it been distracted? For example, the use of color. I'm just giving a very basic example, which is, I'm sorry to say, been overlooked in many of the discussions, at least that I've had.
Yeah.
What kind of colors are used in visuals, and what kind of colors can you show your kid in a book? He or she is simply not interested in the book because it's just not stimulating enough.
Okay.
So gradually that interest has to be created through heroes, through examples of winners, and gradually you have to show them that your knowledge is your power.
Okay.
Your knowing about something's name is not enough.
Okay, that's really important that you've highlighted that. I'd like to remind you, because of, obviously being the Vice Chancellor as well, how do you feel about this?
Well, I have a different point of view.
Yes.
Because, normally when we talk about these books and tablet and all that, I don't see these are two opponent things. And I would see it as a kind of evolution. Because we, in our generation, feels good if we have a book in our hand, the sense of touch and, the fragrance of paper, all that.
That was a time when our father used to tell us that, we used to sit under the streetlights as well.
Yes, yeah. But our new generation, I think they are more comfortable reading on a tablet. So I think we should not try to impose our liking on our new generation. And this is not either our question, this book or that book, but I personally think that this, new trend, use of smart use of IT, it has strengthened the book.
Okay.
So the book has changed the form.
Yeah.
And I think there is nothing wrong with that, because when we move forward, you have to leave something behind. So it's very, when we talk about the sense of touch and, I have to turn the leaf, we are trying to romanticize things.
Okay.
Because when you have to get something, you have to leave something behind.
Okay.
So I personally think that this, this new change of e-books and e-magazines, I think this is very useful. Personally, it has opened new avenues for me. I don't have to go to a bookshop to buy a book. I don't, if I don't have money, they are easily available. And also, there are some very, very important books which were out of print. Now I can go to certain sites and I can get those books. So I personally think this is a very positive change.
Amazing that is, but I think the debate over here is going to move on to a place where we are going to say whether, reading from a tablet is reading or reading from a book is reading as well. But other than that, I want to go back to where I said that, if you want to be a great leader, you have to read books. Over here in Pakistan, I don't know whether to call it an irony or whatnot, but over here what happens is that the larger population is actually affiliated to their political parties and the political leadership. I've never ever seen, what happens is, since you mentioned about Winston Churchill, then you mentioned about Abraham Lincoln and all those other people, and even in these days, whenever you see an interview of a leader, he will always mention a book or a quotation from any other author's book as well. That's what happens. Now, if people can gather people in such large numbers just because of their political interest, why cannot they even talk about reading books or what they like or whom they read just once in a while, because it's such a larger gathering. And you are influencing people, you have an influence on people. Why do you think our leadership lacks in such areas, sir?
Well,
Tough
it
one.
depends upon. That's a good question. You're putting me on the spot.
If you want to take time, you can move on to the things, because I want everybody to answer this.
You see, the point is this, that first you have to think also about the intelligence of our leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, are they really involved in reading books at all?
Are they? I mean, that's what I'm
That's
asking.
the question.
Yeah.
And then perhaps the politics absorbs them so much that they don't have time for reading books. You know, some of the best readers of books I've found is among the generals,
All right.
people from the army.
Exactly.
Because, a young captain or a lieutenant or a major posted in an out faraway place, his only passion will be to get a good book to read in his spare time.
Exactly.
And they are the ones who really are well read. That's what I found. The people who are in the armed forces, surprisingly, are extremely well read.
But there are some politicians as well in Pakistani history who are great readers.
Exactly. That's what it is. Frames up. Let's see what's your take
can
on
I
this
just
one.
jump in? I mean, I just want to add to what's being said. Look, every era requires a certain kind of thing. When Pakistan was being formed, you needed to talk about an idea because Pakistan is an idea.
Yeah.
So if you notice the kind of conversations people were having before, during, and after, it was very high intellectual level kind of ratings you could give. But now there's been a change in the environment. You're not talking about ideas anymore. You're talking about events and people. So the conversation has changed. Suddenly, when you start to talk about ideas again, you will need to know ideas to talk about. For example, and I'll say this very openly, if you talk about Pakistan as an idea, Zionism is an idea. Okay, how many people can differentiate between the two? Very few, I'm sorry to say. Now, let's make it more technical. How many people can differentiate between Judaism and Zionism? Even fewer, because they're not studying it.
Yeah.
Those who are studying it, they can do it with the snap of a finger. What I'm trying to say very humbly is, and please, I would be happy if somebody would add to this or disagree with this, that it depends on your situation. The day Pakistan once again enters a stage of an idea, which it has, by the way. So you have to have something more to deliver, something more to give to your audience, whether it's
But
small or big.
it was an idea, and that ideology was actually conquered because we wanted to be sovereign as well. That's why the idea was there in 1947. I think just because our leaders these days are not readers, that's why I think we might have lost our path over here. But so very sorry, we have to go for a short break. And ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere, because when you guys are going to come back, we have to sort this thing, and it's only there because of the fact that there's a generation gap. Now, when we were born, tablets weren't still there, but we were young enough to learn how to use them as well. But the only debate with them is that, if they read from a book, that's what you call reading. If we play, because whenever we are on tablets, even if we are reading, they think we are playing.
Okay, so
I think that's what we need to sort
so many
out.
notes for the next segment of the show. So do stay tuned. We're going to go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss all these things.
Good morning.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
जी वालेकुम सलाम। बैठे प्लीज़।
जी मुझे वैन चाहिए विद ड्राइवर।
जी मिल जाएगी। इसका 5,000 डेली रेंट होगा और उसके अलावा आपका शनाख्ती कार्ड और लाइसेंस भी चाहिए होगा।
बहन छोड़े कागजों को, 10,000 मुझसे ले और गाड़ी मुझे दे दे।
ठहरिए, ये देखकर खुश मत हो कि कितना पैसा आया है। सोचें, ये पैसा कौन कहां से लाया है। आपकी थोड़ी सी लापरवाही आपके खानदान और मुल्क के लिए बड़े नुकसान का बाइस हो सकती है। पुरअमन पाकिस्तान के लिए कानून नाफिज करने वाले इदारों का साथ दें, क्योंकि हर पाकिस्तानी रद्दुल फसाद का सिपाही है।
The largest cultural activity in Pakistan is the annual National Folk Festival, Lok Mela, held in Islamabad in October each year. Over the past 2 decades, this festival has taken on an international flavor, and more than 20 different countries have sent
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And for everybody who just got tuned into PTY, you watch World this morning alongside Shazad Khan and Maha Makhdoom. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about books in general. And it is because of the fact that there was a national book fair taking place over here in Islamabad. It just ended up on Sunday, which was yesterday as well. And right now, Maha needs to move on with her conversation. Let's see where we're going right now.
And it's the last day of the Mela as well today. But, you know, I feel like this conversation, like we've had a lot of shows on talking about books and literature, importance of it. But I feel this is the first time my brain has got so many things and I'm trying to keep it all in one line.
First time? No.
Yeah, no, on this topic, on this
right.
topic. Okay, so earlier we mentioned, we're talking about the importance of creating the habits of reading within children. We talked about, it's not about separating one or the other, but coming just back to the educational factor of it. How important, because we were talking about this in the break, are the schooling habits? Because we've had this with so many teachers. The conversation is that you go to school and there's no joy in reading. I remember when I was reading the Iliad and for classics, I used to go and read the extra chapters because, you know, it was that sense of I'm enjoying it as part of our course. What's happening in the schooling system right
There's
now?
no joy in going to school, Ma, as well.
I actually enjoyed it in 6th A-level, so I wasn't cool.
I think it's very important
But
question,
seriously,
and there are two parts of it. One is that we need to teach our students how to read. I mean, teaching reading as a skill.
Okay.
Because you know what happens when we see that children don't read. When they go to a book, their vocabulary is very limited. They find it very difficult. Then they go to a dictionary. The whole process becomes very boring, and they leave it.
Yeah.
So this vicious cycle goes on. And then there is a good cycle as well, that you know, you go to a book and you guess the meaning of the words instead of going to dictionary from context, and then you read a lot. When you read a lot, there is more vocabulary, and the whole process becomes very, very pleasant. And that is the responsibility of teachers, how to read intensively and how to read extensively, and there are a set of skills for that. The second part of it is how to create an enabling environment in a school. And it starts from the visible things. I mean, each class should have a mini library. And it's not very difficult because I remember that I did this experiment that we can tell our children that if you have some books at home and if you have read them, why don't you volunteer, why don't you donate those books? And this is how we can circulate. Teachers can do very simple things. For instance, a teacher can carry a couple of books just put them on a table. That is it. Don't say anything about it. You know, that will, create kind of curiosity. Sometimes a teacher can just take a book and read an excerpt from that book.
Okay.
That this is a book, and I found it very interesting. Someday, a teacher can just tell about that, certain book has come on market, and it's such an amazing book. You know, the teacher can do a lot of, motivation and inspire.
Okay.
But now the real story starts with but. I was reading a book on this, how to develop reading skills, and the writer, I still remember, Christine Nuttall. And the writer talks about all those intensive and extensive reading skills. And finally, one sentence for teachers. That book was written for teachers. That reading is a contagious disease. It is caught and not taught. And how can your students catch it if you don't have it?
Exactly.
That's
And
a
I think
very
teachers need to be full of life as well. Teachers
Yeah.
at times, when they come to class, they're not even willing to probably say a word. They're like, okay, open this page and read the entire
We're
chapter.
just generalizing and joking. Just for all those viewers, we
Because
just
we're talking
there's
about
some
books.
great teachers out there.
Because we're talking about books, and I'm really not the type that I'm going to make jokes about books, obviously. So I'm going to, put them on to
Shazad,
somebody
we
else.
all know
And
you.
I'm just making it up, ladies and gentlemen. So please do not take it personally anyways, because we do respect teachers as
Like,
well.
absolutely.
But moving on to Irshad Sahab over here now. Irshad Sahab, the question is, whenever we have a tablet in our hands, parents say, you guys are playing, wasting time, even if we are reading. But if that tablet is placed inside a book right in front of our parents, they think we are reading. Now, I mean, the generation gap over here is trying to define what reading is and what not.
Do you think that's true? Sorry, I want to start with that first. Do you agree with that statement first, and then what are your thoughts on
Well, first, whether it is a tablet or a book,
Yeah.
It's just reading.
it? Okay.
It's reading. This is one thing. Then you must understand, I still remember, I mean, my field has been literature, At
Yes.
Oxford I was. Elizabethan literature was my forte. Whether you are involved in reading Hamlet or Macbeth or Lear, but also, for example, there can be a book which is totally different. I remember when I was 15 or 14, I read the whole night through Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
And,
It has that effect.
and that scared the daylights out of me, but I enjoyed that book. I finished it.
Yeah.
So it also depends upon what you are enjoying.
That's
That's very important. To read a book you should not be forced to read a book.
absolutely.
You should enjoy the book yourself.
Okay.
You can be guided, but many times people don't like being guided as to which book to read.
Absolutely. No, but I think this is a very good point. Okay.
But there's one thing I want to share.
No.
Right,
Because,
sorry.
no. Before you share, I have to
All
ask
right,
this
go
question.
ahead, go
No,
ahead.
you said that a lot of people who are really avid readers, they come and say, it doesn't matter what you read as long as you're reading. Now, this statement, I keep hearing this. Now, this will lead on to the point that we discussed during the break, but surely the quality of what you're reading is going to have an impact on how you then progress in what you're reading. And then that will make your mind grow. So do we not, like, I think are we so desperate for people to read that it doesn't matter what you're reading, at least their words? Like, what do you think about that? Like, how can we make sure that the quality is good, and how can we teach them that?
I think this is important because the quality of what you read is very, very important.
Yeah.
And if you're reading the great authors, if you're reading authors who bring fertility to the mind, that is what matters.
Okay.
There's a lot of trash around also in the market.
Yes, this is what I was trying to. Yeah.
And it's better that students are guided
Absolutely.
on what they
That's
should
what
read.
Exactly.
And you can share your thing, and then I'll ask a question
Okay,
too.
so what happened? So
Mr.
you were
Sardar.
talking about, do what you enjoy. So we enjoy watching movies together as a family. It's not about reading books for us. So one day I was sitting around with my father, and he told me that, why shouldn't we watch a film? I was like, why not? And, we went on and we looked for films, and my dad all of a sudden said, Conjuring. Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Oh, no.
And Conjuring is one of those horror
Conjuring.
films which is out of this planet. And I'm not really a keen watcher of horror films as well. Anyways, I was
I
like,
can't even
Dad,
think of it."
it's not a good idea. Let's not do that. Look at you, man. You're too old. You might not even absorb the shock. He was like, no, everything's fine. And you know, fathers are always heroes. So what happened? The movie went on. I was scared. I mean, I cannot really tell in those words and explain that how scared I was. I was really scared, so I was just leaning back, and I wanted Abu to be in the front of place. That's what it is. So all of a sudden, so the movie ended up, and he said, "Oh, everything's fine and everything's good." Because since my childhood, there was one time I watched a horror film, I couldn't go to sleep. So he went to his room, I went to my room. Exactly after 5 minutes, there are electricity shortages. Light went on. I was already scared, and then meanwhile I could hear somebody in the lounge.
Yes.
No, things
oh,
like
man.
that.
When did this happen, by the way?
It was almost a week ago. It was almost a week ago. So I was like, what to do. So what I did was, I don't know why, that was quite stupid. I just ran down the stairs, got down and sat down in my car. And I was sitting down, I was like, okay, it's much more scarier now. So I turned on the light we have in the car. And all of a sudden, I looked back, my father's already in my car. And I was like, what happened to you? He was like, did you hear somebody in the lounge? I was like, who gave you that idea to watch the film? So that's what it is. But it'll give you memories as well.
Yes.
There's something which you enjoyed that night.
Yes.
And you still remember it. So how do you think we instill that
Create
habit?
that.
But I think there is another, format
Impact.
of a book that is a talking book.
Yes.
That if you are
Audio.
driving, you can just insert the
Yes.
USB and you can listen to
Pre-social
Yeah.
media, pre-technology era.
Yeah.
This is exactly. But okay, now coming back to that, we were talking about the quality of what kids are reading, and we can't fight technology. It's here. It's not going to leave us for a long time. But and this is building on what Irshad Saab also said about the quality. As long as kids are reading, they're reading. And all of the things basically are coming together now. So when you have kids that are so advanced with technology, I'm still, when I talk to my friends who are a few years younger, they're so much more advanced comparatively. But isn't it, like we said, it's the quality of what they're reading, but it's having an impact on the emotional and the IQ levels of the kids. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. If I can just add to what Professor Saab and Irshad Saab
Please,
said.
yes.
Firstly, number one, it's not either or, but at the same time, Shahzad, when you said, okay, we're not playing games, no, I respectfully disagree. 98% of the times, people are wasting time.
Color switch.
They're just looking at images, at Facebook. If they're reading, they're just reading words. It's not gaining knowledge.
Right.
Now,
It's not staying there.
it's a very fleeting thing, because
Yeah.
all you have to do, because this is what I did when I was teaching finance, was I would just ask a slightly deep question. And a person who has not read the chapter or studied the book, or if at the least paid attention in class, that means they just looked at the chapter headings, that's it.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. And absolutely, I say again, it's not either or, but you have to control the information. What does control mean? Influence it. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I've talked about in my book. Do not try to control it, stop it. No, let it happen. Maha, I agree with you. It's there. But it's not the kid's fault, It's my fault, because I woke up too late to understand that there's already stimulation there for the child to. Why did you read, for example, you said, Maha, that you read Iliad or something?
Yes.
Why, you know why you read that?
Why?
Because you'd never seen it. Had you seen a movie,
I saw the film too. It was awful. But you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
because you see, that's the first kind of stimulation that you get. Bram Stoker, I mean, that takes me back when I was 18. I read Dracula and Crime and Punishment when I was 18. And after I read Crime and Punishment, my head was aching.
Yeah.
And I read it because I was like, I have to start reading. All I'm trying to say is, look, we have to wisen up. And you have to, I disagree with the fact that reading just for reading's sake. For practice, yeah, that's fine. But when it comes to, for example, I'll give a practical suggestion. Parents, if we're talking about the mother, father, kid relationship, parents should tell their kid, okay, every day for 15 minutes, you have to read something of your interest, but I will scrutinize that interest.
Okay.
A kid likes guns, fine, let him read about guns. but nothing else for that time. In next day, something that he likes. Gradually build up the knowledge base, the interest base. And as Dr. Saab said, you know, reading is contagious. I mean, I used to hate reading when I was 16, 17, and after 18, I mean, I've been, because I'm an example, a living example, okay? So I have to say this very openly, because I couldn't understand those words, that thick book, it used to scare me. And how did that happen? Because I got a shock of my life. That shock, in that shock, I started that process. So very gently, you have to shock your kids into being stimulated by proper things.
Exactly.
For example, just one more. Why is, for example, Iron Man so important, Superman, Batman? Do you know why? Because they're totally stenciled on the Greek and Roman gods.
Yes.
It's the same thing, just in a slightly more colorful way.
In a more modern way.
Exactly. No, but it's been designed by psychologists.
Yes.
If you ever go to the script at the end, there's always that group of psychologists who know how to enter the mind. So the kid's mind has been entered. All I'm trying to say here is you don't try to stop it. I've said that in my book. I'm just saying we need to wisen up and just control the flow of information, and the quality of information is extremely important.
Thank you very much. I mean, we did want you to talk about literature preservation as well. So, you know, if a one-liner could do about it, because we're very short of time right now, all three of you.
Literature preservation going forward.
Well, I think it's very important that, you know, the great literature must be preserved, and those literary traditions must be perpetuated from one generation to the next. And here we can see the role of these literary festivals, literature festivals, plus the use of IT. And, you know, we see that there are websites now where we can find books on that. So I personally think that it's very important, and literature festivals can play a very important role in that.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this interview you're holding right now, this is very important, because it's going to a lot of people, and you're discussing what should really be discussed about reading and literature. And one must also quickly remember that there are two aspects of literature. One is the spiritual. Like my wife, she writes messages which help people. I've written 27 volumes of poetry which are basically on love, war, politics, you know, the whole range. There are different aspects of literature, and each is fascinating. Whether you help people with what you're writing, or whether you inspire people with what you're writing, these are the basis of what we should have for our children.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Whatever literature there is, preserve it and project it, and two, very aggressively scout the country for fresh talent and fresh contributions.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Great.
Thank you very
so
much, gentlemen.
for joining us.
But there's one more thing which I want to ask, and it has got nothing to do with books. It
Oh,
has
gosh.
to do something with wives, all right?
With what?
So, wives.
Okay.
All right. So
Can we do this after the show?
No. It is very essential, because I find it very hilarious.
Okay, time's running
So
out.
it's one simple question. Let's see who can answer that. What type of wives do really know where my husbands are, or my husband is? You know, that's how it is.
Those
who wants
who
to answer
work for
that?
intelligence agencies.
My wife is a very advanced Sufi, so she knows exactly where I am.
So what about you?
Well, I think she should know, because she knows my interest.
Okay,
Either I could be at literature festival or in some library.
The exact answer is widows.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So with that note, we have quickly got to share our vegetable of the day, and today it is mushrooms. So let's quickly take a look at mushrooms.
All right, so let's see what are the health benefits of mushrooms, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, go ahead.
It is good with preventing cancers, and it is good if you're suffering from hepatitis B.
It helps treat asthma and can be beneficial to those with
Arthritis.
Yes.
And it is good if you have got some damage from stroke.
And then it is beneficial for people with high cholesterol levels.
And protects your kidney and liver.
And then prevents the sign of aging. Wow.
So that's always good. So all of these vegetables are really good for you. Preventative for cancers, all of these different diseases that we have got quite prevalent in this country. So with that, log on to our Facebook fan page.
Which is with the name of World This Morning.
Our Twitter page.
World This Morning without a G.
Our Daily Motion and YouTube page.
World This Morning, World This Morning.
And the repeat is at
11 p.m.
With that, have a wonderful Monday, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Till the next time, look after yourselves and do find yourself a good book to read.
Absolutely.
Look after yourself. Good morning. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.